is where the heart is.
Good morning. This is Home is Where the Heart Is, where mortgage meets ministry. I'm your host, Craig Schweiger. Excited today to welcome a good friend of mine from the Pittsburgh Kids Foundation, also Chaplin for the Pittsburgh Pirates and our Pittsburgh Penguins. Dr. Brad Henderson, welcome.
Great to be here this morning. I'm honored to be a guest on the show.
We're glad to have you. We'll have to catch up on some of those things later in the show. Let me first speak to our listeners about the purpose of our show. I mentioned it's Home is Where the Heart Is, where mortgage meets ministry. We like to spotlight a ministry, and today's ministry is the Pittsburgh Kids Foundation. We're going to learn what they do here in Pittsburgh and also throughout other parts of the world, namely Haiti. There's some things in Michigan, I understand, as well. Well, Home is Where the Heart is the name of the show because our interest is to help seniors. Federated Reverse Mortgage provides a product for seniors to access the equity that's in their home. But our goal is to educate seniors about the costs of the loans, things that they should consider. We want seniors to make informed decisions. So I'll talk about reverse mortgages and also give my contact information. I can be reached by phone directly, 412-866-HOME, or you can email me, craig@fedreverse.com. Brad, talk about when we met. We've been working together now for at least 10, 12 years. Was that our kids playing football? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, other than the fact that for years, and our kids got a great education in the North Allegheny school system. Yeah. Mm. Tons of strengths, but one of the challenges there is just how big the district is. And our kids were in different elementary schools and middle schools, and people kept telling me, hey, you got to meet this guy, Craig Schweiger. You guys would be good buddies for a lot of reasons, and most especially because of your passion for Pittsburgh and the body of Christ in Pittsburgh. So finally, I think, by the time our boys got into intermediate school and we're playing football together, we actually bumped into each other. And then just like people expected, we hit it off. We became fast friends. I remember initially we were getting together regularly and praying up on top of Mountain Washington.
Yeah, right.
City of Pittsburgh, having coffee, and started out talking about our passion for Pittsburgh, and I kind of led you into Haiti ministry as well. So lots of things we could talk about today that we've done together.
Sure, it's probably the unity in the body of Christ, which is shared as a core value of mine, and Brad shares that, just evidence through our relationship and things we've been doing together. The Pittsburgh Kids Foundation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, some of our listeners might have remembered the Pittsburgh Leadership Foundation, which is still a great organization, and back under
Reed Carpenter, right?
Reed Carpenter, yeah, under Reed's leadership. Reed was a personal mentor of mine when I came to Pittsburgh. Eventually talked me into coming to the Pittsburgh Leadership Foundation and running what was then the Pittsburgh Youth Network, which is essentially a network, largest local youth ministry network in the country, over 200 churches and Christian ministries in Pittsburgh trying to reach kids together. And I can't take any credit for that because it was already going, and it was really Reed and Denny Patton, Eric Taylor, and some others that really built that ministry. But I was honored to lead that under the umbrella of the PLF. The ministry grew to the point where everybody on both sides thought this ministry needs to go out under its own umbrella, just in terms of visibility and focus and fundraising. So with the blessing of the Pittsburgh Leadership Foundation, the Pittsburgh Kids Foundation started in the summer of 2008 and became its own entity, still doing a lot of work with kids in Pittsburgh, but also doing a lot in Haiti as well, which I think we'll probably get to at some point.
Great. So how do you get to the kids? Obviously, you're just one guy, and I know you've served as a youth pastor, but I was always intrigued by the model. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and one of the great things about being blessed to lead the movement was that I was a participant. When I first came to Pittsburgh in 1990, knew a few folks, was a local youth pastor at Orchard Hill Church, and was really blessed by the ministry of the Pittsburgh Youth Network. We get together every first Friday of the month, and we have time of worship and prayer together, fellowship over a meal. And I know for me personally, and my wife Beth, that was really a lifeline. A lot of times when you're serving in a church, it's easy to feel isolated. You're focused on serving in that particular community. A lot of relationships that are complex there, and it's hard to form friendships outside of that church. So in a real healthy way, that's what the Pittsburgh Youth Network provides for local youth pastors in the suburbs and the inner city. We come together, we spend time together, we encourage each other. Through that and through those relationships, we have a number of camp programs that we organize. Some of you might be familiar with Lauraville Weekends, which go back over 50 years of sharing Christ with kids, both middle school and high school kids in the mud up in the Laurel Mountains. And then gearing up again this summer for Surf City up in Michigan, which is an outreach camp for middle school kids. Kids come from Pittsburgh. They hear the real story of Jesus Christ. Some of those kids for the first time in a beautiful place in sand dunes up there like Michigan. A lot of the kids that come with us from Pittsburgh have never had that type of experience before. So one of the things that we really value is bringing the body of Christ together. And we have always believed in not separating kids out from the city and the suburbs, but bringing them together, kids from a lot of different backgrounds. And the gospel is the unifier when it comes to people and when it comes to kids. And we've seen a lot of special things happen relationally, not only in building relationships with Christ, but with kids building relationships with each other, kids from totally different backgrounds, which I think, given what we're experiencing in our country right now, we all sense the importance of that and how essential that is.
It's transformative. Our program is, if you're joining us, Home is Where the Heart Is, where mortgage meets ministry. We are here to provide education about reverse mortgages. Our listeners, those that are seniors and also those that advise seniors. Now, these last few shows have put a real focus on leadership among our youth. And, in the culture we live in right now, it's difficult. You look back and things they're not the same as they used to be. So knowing that there's organizations out there who have a focus on the youth is so important. And we've talked about the opportunity with using a reverse mortgage to help support financially some of these causes. As I think we said last week, is storing up treasures in heaven. And especially these days, and the need that our youth have, and the ones that are willing to step up against, the culture and the things that pull them away. So I was always struck by, these different youth camps. You have Ligonier Camp and Conference Center we spoke to a couple weeks back at a show, and Young Life, we talked a lot about Young Life, and organizations have a means of getting the attention of the youth, because plenty of distractions that are trying to take their attention. What I was going to say about what strikes me is the history of the Pittsburgh Kids Foundation serving and going into, I don't know how many years ago that was. It start to talk about Haiti, and you gathered a group of kids and you went into basically the poorest part of our hemisphere. So let's talk about that, maybe that one of those first trips, or what you were thinking.
Yeah, it's funny. When I came to Pittsburgh, I had never, I'd served a little bit in Mexico. I went to seminary out at Fuller in LA, and it was easy to take kids across the border and understood the value of those experiences. But early on, we were looking for a place. I was blessed to be at Orchard Hill, in Wexford, serving mainly kids at North Allegheny High School in the middle schools there. Amazing group of kids, engaged parents. But I would say, early on I discovered that, most of these kids hadn't been outside of this, suburban bubble. And was really convicted that before they went off to college, I wanted them to have an experience that would really challenge them to kind of think outside of that box and be moved to think about others who are living in other parts of the world that weren't nearly as fortunate as they were. So we started doing a trip, spring break, senior year. Usually we take about a dozen of our kids and we'd head down to Haiti. We had been put in touch with two women from Western Pennsylvania, coincidentally enough, very close to Loreauville, where we do our camps now.
Alice and Kathy.
Alice and Kathy, the famous Alice and Kathy, who have been serving in Haiti, running this little orphanage for over 40 years now. Amazing women who I admire very much. But man, it was life-changing for these kids to be down there.
Who were some of the kids? Because I've heard in some of the stories, fond memories. Sure.
Yeah, and they'd all tell you that they were totally changed by that experience. Some of them have been back, some of them weren't. It's one of those experiences where I think all of us need at least one of those experiences. Some of us decide, hey, that's not my calling.
Right.
For others, it leads to others. I think of Jessica Jackley, who was on that very first trip.
Still in full-time ministry.
Yes, went to, brilliant girl, great family. Her brother Adam's the senior lead pastor over at New Community Church in Wexford. But Jessica, because of her work in Haiti on that trip, started an organization that provided microfinancing, was really on the cutting edge of that, called Kiva organization, which was hugely successful. And it's just amazing how God can use experiences in one place to really impact us to do things other places. But the short story is I met some teenage kids who were living at the orphanage. We all did. I think the one thing that we all took away from there was, hey, there's a tremendous need in Haiti, but just how amazing the people were. And for our students, it was really the interaction with kids, young adults that were their same age. But they shared with us a vision they had for community development, asked if we'd help, and we went all in. So wow, almost 25 years later now, they've got a really amazing community development project that both Craig and I are involved in. We got a lot of other friends in Pittsburgh helping us out too, that's doing amazing things down there.
If you're joining us, this is Home is Where the Heart Is, where mortgage meets ministry. My guest is Dr. Brad Henderson, the founder of PKF, Pittsburgh Kids Foundation. We were talking about Haiti. That bubble, we're in Wexford, but many suburbs, not just in Pittsburgh, but throughout the country, it is. You aren't able to acknowledge what's happening outside there unless you go travel. But, there are pockets even within these areas that, people are still struggling. I bring up seniors because with all the positive economic things out there, you hear of, there's plenty of jobs. I heard the other day that the airlines were hiring and wages are going up. That's signs of a continuing strong economy. You have seniors that aren't feeling the benefit of that. The benefit is rising prices throughout, and many of us appreciate the fact that our homes are valued higher this year than they were last year, and they continue to climb. But for a senior that has to make ends meet every month, that can be difficult. So the fact that home values are going up is a reason for a senior that might be struggling month to month to look at a reverse mortgage. The benefits include increasing monthly income. A senior can come to us, give us their age, we can do an appraisal on their home, and ask for a monthly payment that continues for the rest of their life. And that calculation yields an amount. And the other day we were meeting with someone that was their fixed income was $1,500, and they were able to get $500 a month, and that getting them to $2,000 a month is what they needed to live comfortably. So that's just one of those advantages. But, I bring it up because, to segue into Haiti and the needs that are there, we here are living in such abundance. And here we are Saturday morning, we have a big, picnic plan this afternoon. We'll get together Sunday with family. And, in Haiti, that's not available. Haiti, there's many starving people, especially children. I saw some statistics out recently. Brad, talk about our listeners. How could they help if they feel a desire to support the work that you're doing down there among the orphans or just the community. Can you give our listeners some idea and maybe some contact information?
Yeah, and I just have to say, Craig, that I think, the earthquake really got people's attention when it came to Haiti. I remember I used to share that I'd go down to Haiti and we were involved down there and people didn't even know where Haiti was. And all of us know what a crisis that was. I mean, I think as we watch, as I watch what's happening in Miami area right now, that condo building crumbling and how awful that is, and just brings back so many just difficult memories of when that was going on in Haiti on a much larger scale. And things settled a little bit in Haiti. They never became great, but the economy bounced back a little bit. But I'd say, right now at this present moment, Haiti's struggling maybe more so than they were even post-earthquake. There's a political crisis going on. There's a second wave of COVID going through right now, and things are challenged. Yeah, the metrics from last year, this political stuff's been going on for over 2 years now, and it's made it really difficult for people to be able to access food, cooking fuel, just fresh, safe water, just daily needs that we take for granted here. So there's a real crisis going on, and the result of that is, a lot of kids especially being impacted. The latest metrics say that 8 out of 10 children in Haiti right now are suffering from severe malnutrition. Not just hungry, but that's a metric from the World Health Organization of kids really struggling. So it'd be a great time to pitch in and help. And the other thing is we have a hospital that we run down in Haiti, small 15-bed facility. And there's a second wave of COVID that we're battling. And unlike the first wave where we were struggling here in the United States just as well, it was impossible to get any COVID-related supplies from here to there just because we needed them in our own country. And rightfully so, they stayed here. This time around, we've got an abundance of supplies, tests, vaccines that we've been able to access. So we're actively treating COVID patients
That's good.
at our hospital as we speak today. So you can be praying about that. And if you want to get involved in that, or, Craig and I are actually working on sending down a container full of food right now, back of a semi-trailer. Provide how many thousand meals you think, Craig?
This one is likely to be 240,000. Desperate need down there. And, the work that Brad, you've always done has been supportive of the leaders in the community and those types of the medical clinic is completely run by Haitians. I talked about how our Joshua house down there was designed by Haitian engineer and architect and built by Haitian laborers. We were very supportive of Haitian efforts that are run by indigenous leaders, but right now things are just so dire. We're looking forward to having potential of sending down another container of food that could provide the only meal for some of the kids and others that they'll have that day.
So yeah, if people are wanting to get involved and get support, we certainly would welcome that. Would love that. You can just go to our website, pittsburghkidsfoundation.org. Easy to make a gift, online gift there. Easy to learn too about Haiti and Pittsburgh, things we're doing there. And if your passion's Pittsburgh, hey, we're gearing up for summer camp. Our rule around here is we never turn a kid away from camp. And some of the kids that we can serve have people behind them, families, churches, to support them in that. But a lot of kids that come to Surf City don't have any money for camp. So we're in the process of raising those funds as well. So whether you move to feel blessed to, make a gift to Haiti or Pittsburgh, you can do that on our website, and we certainly would appreciate that.
I like the adopt a Haitian child, the idea of going in. And, there's these national organizations or international organizations that do that. And I believe that just the efficient way that you run the PKF and the ability to actually go and meet the kids that you sponsor, great blessing for a donor. Well, if you're joining us, this is Home is Where the Heart Is, where mortgage meets ministry. We're going to talk a bit about some of the considerations a senior should have when they're thinking about a reverse mortgage. If I'm speaking to someone that knows a senior that might want to take advantage of a reverse mortgage, my contact information is, first I'll give you a direct number to me. It's 412-866-HOME. Again, my name is Craig Schweiger, and my email address is craig@fedreverse.com. Or if you just want to go on our website, it's www.federatedreversemortgage.com. So I read an article the other day that showed that there is $6 trillion that seniors have equity in their home, and aren't many times aware that accessing that money in a number of different ways is actually easier and maybe less expensive than once was the case. Seniors want to stay in their home, we found a lot of times, because they're comfortable there, it's safe, they know their neighbors. It's difficult to sell and purchase another home or even rent another home in this economy. So a reverse mortgage can be used to provide either if there's some repairs needed to the home. You can put an addition on your home, attached garage on the same floor if you want to put a master bedroom on your first floor. But let me just, the considerations, I'll often speak to seniors, and if they're thinking they're not going to be in their home long term, that is one thing that I would typically advise a senior to not pursue a reverse mortgage. There are costs. The costs are less than what it costs to sell your home. So if it's going to allow you to stay in your home long term, then I think it's worth spending those dollars. You know, there's other times, this is a case just today, we have a borrower who got really behind on their real estate taxes to the point of it's nearly $30,000, and you know the tax bodies that collect that are at the point where they're taking action. And we were contacted by the senior's daughter, and she's helping her parents stay in the home. So this is a case where we're able to secure the funds. But there's some concerns. There's an underwriting. So what we've done is, before a senior pays the upfront costs for, there's a counseling session for that's $125, and then appraisal. Well, we're going to go and ask the underwriter to pre-underwrite the file, because it's just a case where if someone's struggling financially, the last thing we want to do is have them pay any fees until they have some certainty that they could get the loan. So we're doing the best we can on that front. This has been a great show. This comes on the heels of, we've spoken to Light of Life Ministries. We've spoken to Denny Patton, who was mentioned here. Great leader in our city, started the Silver Ring thing, which became Unaltered, where we got to speak with Jason Burt and the Family Wins, and then our Joshua house up in Ligonier, and the fact that we worked together, and our Joshua Foundation was able to build the Joshua house in Haiti, and where hopefully soon people can return and spend the time that we talked about, serving our fellow brother and sister believers in Haiti. But the point, Brad, and where we're just kindred spirits, it seems, is this idea of drawing the body of Christ together and being a model for the others to see our city's such dynamic organizations that are for the purpose of sharing the gospel but glorifying God. Just always amazed and appreciative to call you my friend, and the work you're doing. What's on the horizon in the efforts around that?
Yeah, well, I think that when people ask me what's kept me in Pittsburgh over the years, because my wife and I thought we'd be here for a couple of years and moved back to the Midwest where we grew up, it's been the body of Christ in Pittsburgh. It's just this sense of the way people in Pittsburgh, love each other, and especially folks on the front lines of ministry, that there's a sense of, hey, we're in this together. And it's not a competition. The longer we live here, the more entrenched we get. Craig and I have talked a lot about our friendship, and it's just interesting. I was struck, the other shows, Jason Burke, become a good friend of mine. Great ministry going on there. Denny Patton is one of the reasons I'm sitting here today. He's been a mentor and a leader in my life. Doug Smith, love Doug. Love his passion for Christ and for people, and that relationship goes back a long way. And the work that he's doing, Light of Life right now, Ligonier Camp, man, what a blessing it's been. And now the Joshua House, it's given Craig and I an opportunity to bring some of our friends from down in Pittsburgh that are serving in ministries and have that, time in Haiti. But, we just encourage you to join us in praying for the body of Christ in Pittsburgh. And, I'm trying to figure out, we got a group of guys that were gathering regularly, nonprofit leaders in the city got interrupted by COVID, and we got to get another time on the calendar just to fellowship and be together.
Yeah.
But it's all about loving each other and cheering each other on in ministry.
Well, it's been great. Glad you could join us this morning. If this is Home is Where the Heart Is, thank you for joining us. Again, I'll give my contact information. You can reach me, Craig Schweiger, at 412-866-HOME or Craig at fedreverse.com. We're here to answer any questions, help you make an informed decision, and we just really urge you to get behind some of these ministries that are out there. I bring them on the show because I know of these ministries and I support them myself, and just really great work. So, thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Craig. It's great to be together this morning.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks for being here. God bless.
His home